Okay, welcome all. And today we are going to read this chapter 7. And this is the section from where actually we need to start today. The generation of contradictions. Every one of us is walking around carrying loads of messy contradictions. For starters, I know I am a sinful, wretched person, yet I also know that I am fully forgiven because of Jesus' work on the cross. Both are true, and I walk around with the cognitive knowledge of both at the same time. Growing up on the border of the millennial generation, I can relate to one of the common criticism made of them, being known as the trophy generation. I received practice participation robins ribbons. I received participation ribbons and was applauded applauded by teachers, parents, and administrators for anything and everything. And like many 20 somethings today, I grew up being told I could be anything I wanted, and I believed it. I grew up believing Shakespeare's line, "Why then? The world's mine oyster, which I with sword will open." And of course, there will be a diamond stud pearl inside. Everyone has told me for my whole life that thus is so. Despite the criticism of receiving too much of positive affirmations, there is a part of this I think is good. The sense of accomplishment and confidence it has built has created a generation of young leaders who are bold, confident, eager, and ambitious. Why would not you go for it when you have been told your whole life you can do anything? Sometimes you just start believing it. This thinking creates a courageous mindset that is willing to try things, audaciousness to go for gold, and boldness to bust through obstacles that have held previous generation back. I know it has created confidence in me, maybe an overconfidence. But I will let the sociologists wrestle over that one. The contradiction that may point out with the generation is that even though we are highly confident, we are also deeply risk averse for some reason. The parents who have done all the hand-holding have not helped this generation move ahead on their own. When your parent does your homework, you get a grade, which is nice, and it might help you get into a better college, but it teaches you that you do not really have a risk of falling. Risk of falling is ignored, or you do not realize that it is existing, or what is the benefit of it. As much as we laugh at it, trying to keep kids overly safe, avoiding falling or failing has its own consequence. If we avoid falling or failing or trying to keep kids overly safe, so these are not generally good traits and has its own consequence. My friend Dr. Tim Elmore says that the removal of monkey bars on playgrounds is perhaps the clearest example of this. The monkey bars teaches us something about controlling our bodies, learning to take calculated risks, and still avoid the nasty fall. Even though there is always the potential for an injury, a child who learns to play on the monkey bars experience that feeling of accomplishment that most other piece of playground equipment cannot provide. Taking away the monkey bars has led to the walking contradiction we see in the risk averse, overconfident generation of young leaders. I see the contradiction in my own life, and I bet you do too. So, what to do about it? Awareness is a great first step. Learn to recognize that a low risk tolerance may be resulting in passivity in your leadership. In the poetically poignant movie Boy, Ray Jelinsky, played by Dan Aykroyd, offers a fantastically helpful piece of advice to Tommy, played by Chris Farley. Tommy steps onto an elevator with Ray, and within just a few moments, Ray detects an unusual odor coming from Tommy. Without making eye contact, Ray says, with a strong Midwestern accent, went a little heavy on the pine tree perfume. Their kid. Tommy uh, sheepishly replies, Sir, it is a taxi cab air freshener. I love the brilliant retort by Ray. Good, you have pinpointed it. Step two is washing it off. Obviously, there is nothing helpful about passivity when leading others. Anyone who has created anything has done it through intentionally intentionality. Even those who they fail, try and fail, gain the benefit of an opportunity for learning. Thomas Edison is credited for saying, I did not fail, I just found 2000 ways not to make a light bulb. The greatest danger of not being in charge and waiting around until you are is that you never learn to risk or fail and how to handle that experience. You never learn from those mistakes. Learn to recognize that low level fear in you that says if you try and fail, you will get labeled as someone who cannot. If you try and fail, you will get labeled as someone who cannot. Learning to ignore that voice is crucial. This is very important. Learning to ignore this voice is crucial. So, being aware of passivity is the first step, but step two is learning to reject it and take action. Step two is learning to reject it and take action anyways. Someone, you want to take over from here?
जी विकास जी.
Yeah.
When waiting doesn't work, there is a value in our organization we call remaining open-handed. This is massively important for us because we know that a team filled with close-fisted people will become toxic. The best teammates are those who are willing to share ideas, who are able to withstand their idea not being used, and who understand when they are asked to carry something out of their job description for a season. That is remaining open handed. The danger of this value is that we begin to create leaders who lack the intentionality to fight passiveness. We have all worked with people who were too hesitant to take on more responsibility. Instead, they wait for direction. Maybe they hesitate for fear that their intentionality will be perceived as a land grab. Maybe they hesitate or fear of mishandling the responsibility. Maybe they hesitate out of laziness or because they are already overwhelmed with their current load. Hoping someone will hand you responsibility may not be helping your boss. If you truly want to be a leader who is leading when you are not in charge and capable of being trusted with more, you have to be willing to add responsibilities to your current role. When you sense yourself standing around waiting for more, a great first step is to look around for things that no one is addressing and take the first step. Don't play the waiting game. You will miss opportunities to lead. A few years ago, a young leader who worked for me would end every one on one meeting by telling me he had margin for more responsibility. I thought his job was flush with responsibility, but obviously it was not keeping him busy enough. He wanted more and told me so. On the regs, that means with regularity for those of you who can't handle my abbreviations. To his credit, at least he was honest about it. With the best of intentions, he would tell me what is on my plate is not completely keeping me busy, and I have got more to give. If there is anything else you need me to do, let me know. While I appreciated the sentiment, I finally had to tell him that I needed him to be more intentional about picking up responsibilities. I told him he would be the most helpful if he could find problems that needed to be solved. I needed him using his additional margin to add value to what we were trying to accomplish. Part of his job was to find ways within his area of responsibility to make better what we were trying to accomplish. That was his job, not my job. When you wait for your boss to tell you what to do, your boss then has to think about how to do their job and your job. If you are always waiting to be handed more responsibility or a new opportunity, you will likely become someone who cannot be handed anything of importance. On our team, the people I trust most are the ones handling the most and taking the initiative to find and solve the problems I have not even noticed yet. So, if you are not busy, get busy. A waiting posture does not win in the long run. If you do not know where to start, look around. There are always responsibilities, projects, processes, products, or even people who are underutilized that others around you are just not noticing. Yeah, should I go ahead also?
No, we'll end. We are actually targeting to close sharp at 2 o'clock. So
Okay,
we'll again meet tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank
If
you.
you find any like kind of summary, you can please share in the group so that it will be interactive, and also I'll also try to share some.
Yeah, though I joined late, but the later
In this
part,
group? Yeah, otherwise
the
you can share it here. No problem.
yeah, the later part that is about taking the initiative. That if we want to take in charge as leaders, then we have to take initiative. It is not that the boss has to dictate, only then we are doing our job. We have to see ourselves what we can do at our part and what projects, so many things we are surrounded by. Many works may be there, many assignments may be there, and uh, we need to try to find the problems around, and we can find the solutions at our own.
Very true. That is what is the second part very clearly Menses. Okay. Thank you for joining and sharing your view.